So good afternoon. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. I'm George Hidalgo, club president, and thanks for joining us today. My opening message today is about the beginning of Rotary. 116 years ago yesterday, attorney Paul Harris persuaded several business associates to gather at a downtown Chicago law office for what was known as the first Rotary Club meeting and the world's first service club. Now, who would know at that time what a movement he started? Now, Paul Harris was from Racine, Wisconsin, by the way, so he was not from Illinois, he was from Wisconsin. And Rotary now connects 1.2 million members in more than 35,000 clubs, covering 6 continents and most of the world's countries. We, as leaders of our communities, can all be proud of how we connect through Rotary to form meaningful, lifelong friendships and give back to our community. So thank you, Paul Harris, for your version of Rotary. So with that, let's move on to the opening music. Casey Oakers will play our patriotic song, This Land is Your Land. Casey? Now, we continue our monthly series where a new member of our club interviews a longer-term member. Now, this helps us not only connect to a new member, but also to hear a little bit more about one of our longer-term members. Now, this month, Willie Larkin interviewed longtime Rotarian and past president Jim Rooley. So before we go into Jim, let's talk about Willie. Willie has been a member of our Rotary Club for 6 years, and he was previously a Rotarian member in Auburn, Alabama for 14 years. Now, he has been active in our club with participation in the Youth Awards Committee and is a Rotary Scholar Mentor. Now, Willie is a motivational writer and a public speaker and has led many workshops and seminars focusing on organizational change, effective leadership, building strong teams, cultural diversity, and cultivating long-term relationships. Now, he is currently Edgewood College's Chief of Staff and Diversity Officer. So here's Willie's summary of his interview with past President Jim Rooley.
Good afternoon, fellow Rotarians. I hope you are all doing well during this pandemic. I had the great pleasure recently of interviewing Jim Rooley, and I want to share with you some of the information that I garnered from our talk. Jim was in the legal profession and was a practicing attorney for 50 years. Jim was the local Perry Mason of Madison and Dane County. Jim joined Rotary because he was encouraged to do so by his father-in-law, who taught him the valuable principles of service and giving back. We talked a little bit about events and happenings during his tenure in the club, and he told me that he witnessed the first 2 women to join the club in 1987, Pat Jenkins, Angie Bartell, and he also witnessed Carol Toussaint being brought into the club as the first female president. He has a lot of hobbies and things that he enjoyed doing, but here are some of his interests. He loves the theater, and he loves attending the Overture Center. He enjoys Wednesdays also because he gets a chance to see his fellow Rotarians, and he loves that fellowship. In terms of advice that he would give anyone in the club, he says, attend all meetings. He also said, immerse yourself in all of the club's programs and events. Never get hung up on the quality of the food because this is a service club and we're not meeting at a gourmet hotel or restaurant. Sit at a different table each time you attend Rotary. You get a chance to know more people that way. Jim has been married to Carol for 50 years and they have 2 sons. Over the years, he has enjoyed being a grandparent and watching politics. Jim also likes to help people grow and serve the community. He said that one person can really make a difference in the lives of people. Over the years, he has sponsored 24 members into the Rotary Club. Jim encourages us never to misuse our membership just for personal gain. Instead, serve. Jim is an icon and a hero.
Now I want to remind members about an easy way you can help support our Madison Rotary Foundation. Now, many of us use Amazon for online purchases. So when you are making purchases, think about using smile.amazon.com so you can help support our Madison Rotary Foundation. So if you place your order through smileamazon.com and select our Madison Rotary Foundation as your charity choice, the Amazon Smile Foundation will donate 0.5% of the purchase price of your purchase items to our foundation. So by the way, there are Madison Rotary Foundations. There are several of them in the Amazon Smile listing. So it could be Madison, Alabama, Madison, New Jersey, lots of places. So please choose the one in Madison, Wisconsin. There will be more information in this Friday's Rotary News about it to remind you to look into this option. And remember, every little bit helps, and it helps our community. So past President Susan Schmidt serves on our Member Recognition Committee, and she will present awards to 2 of our members today. Susan?
Thanks, President George. It's just great to be here live. Imagining all your faces out there. I miss everybody, and so I hope everybody's doing well. And I am here as a member of our club's Member Recognition Committee. The committee was established by our board to annually make recommendations to recognize members for their outstanding service efforts on behalf of our club. The recognition is one of Rotary's 5 avenues of service: club, community, international, vocational, and youth. Today, I'm honored, very honored, to recognize 2 members of our club who are receiving community service awards: Maria Alvarez Stroud and Peter Covey. Maria joined our Rotary Club in 2015. She was previously a member from 1987 to 1994. Maria is the former director of the Broadband E-Commerce and Education Center for UW Extension. During her time as a Rotarian, she has been active within our Community Grants Committee, served as a Rotary Scholar Mentor, served on our Program Committee, and she has also chaired our Community Projects Committee. Through our Community Projects Community, Maria continues to work with One City Schools to make connections with Rotarians as part of the large impact grant we provided to One City Schools 2 years ago. Each of these roles requires large time commitment, and we appreciate her continuing dedication to serving our community through Rotary. And I know it would be good to clap if we could all clap. And now, next, and congratulations, Maria. And Peter Covey joined our Rotary Club in 2009. And he is First Vice President, Wealth Management Advisor with Merrill Lynch. Peter has been most active in our Community Grants Committee. He has served on the committee for 6 years and chaired it for 2 years. And for someone who has been part of that committee, I'll tell you, it takes He gave a lot of time to this, and it really paid off. As chair, Peter was responsible for reading through all 100 grant applications and leading the committee meetings to determine which organizations best met our criteria for funding. The commitment by itself required many volunteer hours. In addition, Peter has served on our club's Budget and Finance Committee, our Madison Rotary Foundation investment committees, and our International Committee. He also traveled to our club's international project site in Peru in 2010. Peter and Maria, you are outstanding examples of Rotarians working through our club to make a difference in our community. Thank you for helping us connect, grow, and serve, and thank you for inspiring all of us through your work and commitment. For your continuing dedication to our Rotary Club, we are awarding our Rotary Club of Madison Community Service Awards to both Maria and Peter, and the club has made a $200 gift in each of your names to the Rotary Foundation of Rotary International. Since we cannot see you in person, we are mailing you a special certificate and pin to recognize you with our Club Service Award. Thank you, and congratulations to Maria, Alvarez, Stroud, and Peter Covey. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
So we have birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor, wisdom that complements Rotary's mission. So we also encourage members to make an age-appropriate gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation, and as you know, round it up to the Synergy Scholarship Fund once you get to that 100 mark. So let's continue to donate to our phenomenal club, which helps our community so well. So starting with birthdays, February 21st, Catherine Smith. February 22nd, Don Helfrecht. Now, Don celebrated his 99th birthday on Monday, and he celebrated his 50th year in our Rotary Club last September 9th. Now, that's amazing, and congratulations to Don on these milestones to celebrate. Truly amazing. February 23rd, Vicki Enright. Also on February 23rd, Steve Johansson. February 23rd, Mark Moody, who's enjoying Florida right now. February 24th, Dave Edinger, who quotes Malcolm X. I just don't believe that when people are being unjustly oppressed, that they should let someone else set rules for them by which they can come out from under that oppression. February 25th, Bill Meal. February 27th, Debbie Biddle. So thanks to our celebrants for their contribution to the Madison Rotary Foundation. Chiefs, please join me in wishing them a happy birthday. Jeff and Angela Bartell will play and sing happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you.
So on to members in the news. So Christine Euclid co-chairs Project Reach, an initiative to increase the number of his members on business boards, and she was interviewed about this initiative. Donna Beesman is a member of the Project Steering Committee, and that was in Business Madison, February 16th. Now, Jessica Cavazos was interviewed by Doug Moe in a feature article about her dreams for the Wisconsin Latino Chamber of Commerce. That was March 2021, Madison Magazine. LeVar Charleston. Okay. Yeah, LeVar Charleston and Jessica Cavazos have been appointed to Governor Avery's Advisory Council on Equity and Inclusion, and Don Krim will chair the council. Now, Marsha Whittington was quoted in an article about Grace's plan to open an adult daycare on Madison South Side, and that was Wisconsin State Journal, 223. You don't want to bump? Okay. Okay, we'll go on to today's program then. Today's speaker is Tom Still, president of the Wisconsin Technology Council, which is a nonprofit, bipartisan science and technology policy advisory board to the governor and the legislature. Its programs include the Tech Council Investor Networks, the Tech Council Innovation Network, the Governor's Business Plan Contest, and really a bunch of regular events that connect entrepreneurs, investors, researchers, and others with a stake in the tech-based economy. Now, Tom is the former associate editor of the Wisconsin State Journal and writes a syndicated column that appears regularly in more than 24 publications. It's incredible all the things that we read about how Madison is becoming a tech hub for the U.S. So Tom has titled his presentation, What's Happening in Wisconsin Technology Sector? And we look forward for his presentation. And we have made a contribution to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund as a way of thanks for speaking to us today. Now, initially, we had planned on Tom actually being here in live, but it's pre-recorded because something came up. So he was able to come in last night and record his presentation. So we will though still have a live Q&A immediately following today's presentation. So you can find the link to the Zoom Q&A in this morning's email from the Rotary officer or in today's YouTube chat. So let's welcome Tom to our virtual podium. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Tom Still, president of the Wisconsin Technology Council, and a thrill to be here with you today at the Rotary Club of Madison. It's a great club. It's done so much outstanding service in this community and around the world, really. So I'm really thrilled to be here with you. So my goal today is to talk a little bit about technology in Wisconsin. Makes sense, right? That's our title, Wisconsin Technology Council. And to spend some time around some of the policy initiatives we do and just give you a virtual tour of what's going on in Wisconsin, because that's very important in terms of your knowledge about this larger state that we have. So a little bit about what we do, policy development, communications, some networking events, all virtual right now, of course. And we do a lot of best practice work with entrepreneurs and others and some hands-on advice. We do a variety of projects and publications. Our Wisconsin portfolio takes a look at the investment world around Wisconsin every year. We do things on healthcare. We do monthly webinars on a variety of subjects. We spend time with the legislature and other policymakers. We run the Tech Summit, the Wisconsin Entrepreneurs Conference, and the Early Stage Symposium. In fact, the Tech Summit's coming up March 17th. And we recently assisted the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation with their We're All Innovating contest, which was statewide. And of course, we run the Wisconsin Governor's Business Plan Contest and its youth corollary, Wisconsin Yes. So this is just a few of the things we touch. Some of our publications, you can see that over time, we've built some expertise around some of the areas that really help drive the tech economy and culture in Wisconsin. On the screen, you'll see one that was about higher ed and research dollars and how that affects the economy. In the middle is our latest publication, our 2021 white papers, which we produce every 2 years for the governor and the legislature and other policymakers so that they know some of the issues that our board is thinking about. We have a very large board, by the way. We have 50-some members, and they come from all walks of the tech life and really add a lot to the conversation about what's going on here. And also there you can see our Wisconsin portfolio, which is our annual look at the investment climate in Wisconsin. So as I mentioned, I want to tell you about Wisconsin, not so much Madison, because this group is predominantly from Madison. You probably know the tech culture in this town and some of the stories as well as I do. But I want to spend more time on the rest of the state so that you have a little more background. And this is a promo slide from the movie Irresistible. It was out about a year or so ago, and it featured Steve Carroll. You can see him here. And he was a Democratic political operative coming to a purple state, meaning Wisconsin. Blue, red, sharp divides. We all know all about that. And at one point early in the film, he shows up at a bar to chat up some of the locals. And the bartender says, "So, have you been to Wisconsin before?" And Carol says, "Well, I've spent a lot of time in Madison." And two guys on the end of the bar start laughing. One of them says, "That's not Wisconsin. That's a no." And that's kind of how, there's some truth to that, right? And I think if Hollywood picks up on it, I think the rest of us should learn a lesson or two there too. So this is going to be more about what's happening in the rest of the state and why you should be excited for what's going on in some of the cities here in Wisconsin. So first, a little bit about history. That's an old map there, as you can tell. That's kind of late 1800s, and it was really focusing on the areas of expertise in Wisconsin. But they live on to this day. They've just changed in how they're really implemented. Agriculture, food processing, food safety, precision farming, animal health, genetics, organics. All of those are transforming the face of agriculture in Wisconsin, and for the better. Natural resources, biofuels and bioproducts, clean water, you can see the list, digesters, freshwater tech, forest products, plastic substitutes, which are going to come out of the paper industry. I think those are all big things for Wisconsin's future as well. Tourism and recreation was hard hit during COVID, as we all know, but people are going to different styles of how they recreate. There are more short trips. There are a lot of things that I think are in Wisconsin's future that are really going to help for tourism. And manufacturing, well, today, if you're not involved in tech and manufacturing, you're probably not going to be in manufacturing very long. And so robotics and AI and many other trends are reshaping what is a core to Wisconsin. So what are the things that will help us and our neighbors, frankly, get better as we recover from COVID? Well, we have a predictable cost of doing business, affordable housing in most places. I know a lot of people are working on that. Our key startup hubs are already on the national radar. That includes Milwaukee and Madison. Healthcare quality is high. We found that out a little bit during COVID-19. Our infrastructure is in good shape. We have geological stability. No hurricanes, no tsunamis that I've ever experienced. We're one of the few states with a fully funded state pension program. Why is that important? Because if you go to some of the other states, and particularly some of our neighbors, if those pension programs aren't fully funded, guess what? There's going to be a tax increase somewhere lurking in the future. Our education quality is high. Our tax burden is actually going down. It used to be easily in the top 5. Now it's in the mid-teens. It's appealing to all types of people at all ages. And because we are in this situation where we've learned a lot about remote working, we know that there's a great remote workforce in Wisconsin that can do what's asked of it. Here are some more things about Wisconsin that are just rankings of different things that are getting us on the radar. And I'm very excited about that for a lot of reasons. First of all, there's an exodus of sorts in places like the Silicon Valley and New York City, other cities around the country. And I think Madison and the rest of Wisconsin can pick up on that and attract a lot of people from elsewhere to come to the state and see what we have going for us, which I believe is among the top places in the country. So one of our assets, sometimes people look at it the other way, but I think it's an asset. We're a state of mid-sized cities. Milwaukee and Madison, even Milwaukee is only about 31st in the country. We're in the 80s in terms of size. But after that, it starts to become more mid-sized cities. The Green Bay, Kenosha, Racine, Appleton. We have a number of other cities that have enough critical mass and yet are very livable. But those cities don't bowl alone. That book title you see there is by a Harvard professor who wrote about associations in America, and he was lamenting sort of the decline of that about 20 years ago, but also predicting a brighter future. And that's where I think we are. And that's part of the assets for Wisconsin. So we have a lot of different organizations and associations and higher ed and state and federal governments and other institutions, including healthcare and utilities, and a variety of folks who are adding to this fabric in Wisconsin. So it makes for a much stronger state. Now I want to tell you a little bit about some of the success stories we see popping up around the state. You see there Q and Khalif El-Amin. The El-Amin brothers are doing a lot in Milwaukee to spark entrepreneurship. working with young companies, working with people throughout that city, and are doing a great job. Milwaukee Tech Hub. Milwaukee Tech Hub is an organization that's really focusing on building the workforce in Wisconsin. Kathy Hendrick, who's the director of that, and she and I work on a variety of things together, is doing a great job to make sure that Milwaukee is building that workforce of the future, and so are the Elamine brothers. So 2 levels there. Beloit. Here you see Ken and Diane Hendricks on the screen and a picture of Beloit. The Hendricks family has done a lot through ABC Supply and some of their related organizations to build on that city that, really kind of had some hard times during the manufacturing recession, but it's coming back. And there are things like the Iron Tech Accelerator in Beloit that are a part of that and attracting entrepreneurs, sometimes coming from across the border in Illinois. La Crosse. Don Weber created Logistics Health Incorporated there, and the kind of growth that they've seen and the kind of reinvestment in the riverfront area of La Crosse is really helping to turn that city around. That was a little bit of a rough kind of rundown area for a while, but now because of Don and the other folks at LHI, it's really on the move. Janesville. Janesville, as you well know, lost the GM plant in 2009. And again, some tough times during that recession about that time. But a number of young companies are starting to spring up there. And in fact, 2 companies that Shine Medical and North Star Radioisotopes that are, I predict, going to be among the leaders in terms of next generation medical isotopes, in terms of how they're produced in the United States. Right now, all of our medical isotopes are produced in reactors that are offshore. And this is a way to do so in a different process onshore. And I think it's going to really be exciting for Wisconsin as we move ahead. Green Bay. We all know the Packers. We all love the Packers. Well, except maybe there's probably some Bear fans out there in the audience today. But the Packers have worked to ensure that the economy in the Green Bay area is as strong as that team. They have worked with others, including Microsoft, to start Titletown Tech. The Startup Hub is there, and there's just a lot of activity in Green Bay now that you couldn't find 10 years ago. But it's really getting that city on the map. And finally, Eau Claire. Eau Claire is an interesting spot in Wisconsin because of the role of the university there and the role of young companies that started there. It always had a tech tradition. Cray Computing started there, which not many people know. Seymour Cray was from Chippewa Falls. And so that kind of building infrastructure around tech is long-lived in the Eau Claire area. Well, Zach Homestead and some others, kind of the classic startup story, a couple of people with lots of pizza in the basement and put together a company called Jamf. And Jamf is essentially works with Apple products to help integrate them. They're now all over the world. From those 2 folks in the basement who are both Eau Claire grads, we now have Jamf in 8 locations around the world and a vibrant workforce. And they are a big part of building the Pablo Center at the Confluence, which is on the Eau Claire campus, but is available to all of the community there. And, it's such a strong community right now that they're going to host the 2023 National Council on Undergraduate Research Convention, which is going to bring about 5,000 people to Wisconsin. Now, they're all, or almost all, going to be young people who are doing that kind of research and may see that Wisconsin is a place that could be where they want to land. And so I think a lot of companies should be taking a look at that as they think about their future workforce. Other things are happening around the state to build in these other communities, as I noted. Many of you, or almost all of you, are probably going to be familiar with WARF, the Wisconsin Alumni Research Foundation. Well, a subsidiary of WARF is WISIS, the WISIS Technology Foundation, and I'm pleased to be on the board of trustees for that. WISIS is working with those campuses around the state, the Eau Claires, the Stephen Points, the Green Bays, the River Falls, to really ramp up what's going on in the research side of things. They're doing an excellent job. In fact, the number of patents and disclosures are ideas from faculty and students, has been rising steadily. They are launching something called the Venture Home Project, which is starting in Eau Claire, but eventually it's going to be around the world, around the country, and around the state. What it means is that young companies will have a chance to work directly with the universities that are kind of in their watershed, so to speak, because it's really important that young companies, they don't often, and companies that are affiliated with universities don't often go too far from home, 50 miles or so. So this is going to really help build the infrastructure around Wisconsin as well. Now, what are some of the issues that we're working on? Broadband has been, and making that more available and ubiquitous in Wisconsin has been one of the issues for the Tech Council for a long, long time, probably the early part of the 2000s. And there's still a divide. It is getting better, but there's a lot going on that I think I predict will make it better over time. It's sort of the Rural Electrification Act of the 21st century. Many of you probably at least have read about that and know that for rural America, electrification was what brought it along at a very critical time in our development as a country. So right now it's so important to Wisconsin. COVID-19 has demonstrated that time and time again, but having those right connections is essential for healthcare, for education, for tourism, for autonomous vehicles at some point, for the sharing economy, for a variety of things that really make the quality of life what it should be and that provide services for people. And it's also important for those Main Street businesses that maybe otherwise are only serving their physical proximity. But if they're online, they begin selling to wherever they can sell, and sometimes that's the world. And in the state budget bill, Governor Evers has proposed another $200 million to go into that, and that would match with a variety of private funds as well as some federal funds that are flowing in. So I'm enthusiastic about where we might be with broadband in the coming decade. The governor also proposed a $100 million state investment, not a loan, not a grant, but a state investment in a fund of funds. This is something that the Tech Council, we've been beating the drum for almost a decade, because when we look back, a lot of angel activity in Wisconsin, but for those angels who've been carrying a lot of the freight over time, those companies were kind of all dressed up and no place to go. They needed follow-on investments in order to really make their mark and grow the way that we would all hope that they do. So this would be a 2-to-1 match. So 100 million from the state, 200 million from private sources, and attract attention and dollars from around the country. So we're already seeing that. We're already seeing the start of attention of investors and others as they look at Wisconsin and recognize the assets we have here. But it's going to deepen and broaden if this is approved. And so if you get a chance to talk to your legislators about it, that's a good thing. And finally, higher ed. We recognize that having an educated workforce, having research dollars flow into the state and then back into the economy is essential. And we're blessed in this state to have a high quality higher ed state system, both public and private. The UW system itself is 26 campuses, 13 4-year, 13 2-year. The Wisconsin Association of Independent Colleges and Universities is another 24 or so campuses. And the Wisconsin Technical College system has 16 districts and I think about 47 campuses. There's no reason for anyone to lack for choices for higher ed in Wisconsin. And so the state budget bill as proposed will reinvest in the higher ed, both on the operational side, but also on the capital side. So we're excited about that and called for that kind of thing in our white papers as well. The Wisconsin ecosystem, from where it started some years ago, and by the way, this is our 20th year, in fact, the month of our 20th anniversary for the Tech Council. And when I look back to where Wisconsin was right around that time, it was a little more sparse. This was not a state that had a lot of infrastructure to help entrepreneurs. Here you can see that that has grown remarkably and continues to grow. There's emphasis really throughout regional economic development groups, through state organizations such as the WDC, through organizations like ours, which is in part a trade association, and many others who are working to build this state, especially on its entrepreneurial side, and help bring in the kind of investment dollars that help those young companies grow. So I'm excited about what's going on in Wisconsin. I hope you can tell that. And I hope also that you now have a better look at what's going on around Wisconsin. Madison stories are great and they're growing all the time, but I want you to feel good about what's going on in the rest of the state. Don't think that we're somehow isolated in terms of where we're at, or that we're not able to compete beyond the borders of Dane County, because we are. So thank you, and I hope to be joining you in a minute for questions and thoughts. I really appreciate being here with the Rotary Club of Madison.
So thank you for that presentation. Now, for those who are interested, we will now move to the live Q&A session via Zoom. So you can see the link in the chat or find the link in the morning's email from the Rotary office. Thank you to everyone that attended today's meeting. We are adjourned.